Who's been in good form of late. Now, the 2500, this is a pretty tricky start. Now, Danson Wood's drawn one. Is that an advantage at the 2500? This is a Derby start.
It can be, Bruce. Look, barriers are very important going out of the straight the first time because you haven't got long before you get onto that bend, and it's nice to get tucked in and relaxed, and that's the key. Before you get around to the 2,000 metre mark, you must be settled. These staying races with the sting out of the track too, vitally important that you don't get stuck wide by the time you straighten up along the lovely cypresses there where the Maribyrnong is, made at the 2,000 metre mark. So that's the key.
OK, we'll keep a watch on that, see what the jockeys get up to in the Saab quality. Paul Salmon's caught up with a great supporter on this Derby day.
I'm here with John Walker, Managing Director of Thrifty Car Rentals, and of course looking forward to the big Thrifty McKinnon Stakes. John, you've had a big involvement in racing for some time now, haven't you?
Yes, we have. Racing seems to work well with us, Paul. We've got lots of clients coming, and we sponsor this race, third year, and also very big sponsors in Sydney at both clubs.
Should be a big day. How hard is it going to be to get a car in Melbourne in such a busy week like this?
Well, I'm very pleased to say we don't have any left, which is what it's all about. But events in Melbourne really help our business, and events like this weekend and throughout the week take our cars out, which is great, and we enjoy it.
Have a great day, John. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Now, the Derby's less than 3 hours away, and the totes at this stage with 200,000 in the win pool. Face value $7, Kempinski $6.90, Elvstroem $4.90, Penitentiary $6.40, and Noble Red, surprisingly, has come up favourite at $3.70. Kenny Opera $24, Our Spur $50, Extolling Virtue, who may run in the Melbourne Cup if it can get a good result today, at $44 as we go over the page. Big odds the rest, but Al Bahar was a pretty good run at Geelong, running on for fourth is at 17, and the Bart Cummings train, Dennisry, at $15. So Noble Red's the favourite here. Now, Pat, that's a bit of a surprise. What's happening in the ring at this stage in connection with the Derby?
Well, major surprise that, Bruce, and I'll be very surprised if those tote figures hold up, because at this stage, Kempinski and Elvstroem are fighting over favouritism. Hasn't been a lot of money for Derby-wise. As I said, the punters have been a little wary so far, but they've seen a couple of races to work out this track. They know it's improving. The money will come shortly, but don't rule out Noble Red. I know he's favourite on the tote at the moment, but with the books, he's a third favourite here in the betting ring, and with me as well on my board, and I'll show you that later. But Noble Red, Kempinski, Elvstroem seemed to be the big three, and Noble Red just a quiet tip about the Freedman horse.
Well, the story here, I think, is there's more value than we thought. I think this time last week, with those two horses running so well, we thought that they'd be very skinny odds for the Derby. Not to be high fashion today, but it's not just the women.
Inspirations when I do a collection come from fabrication, lifestyle, and I actually enjoy taking inspiration from the 60s, 70s and 80s, because that was a great time for change and optimism. The physical process for me starts with the fabrication, and then I do drawings of the collection, develop a pattern to ensure that the cut and style relate. When I sit down to design, I have a particular customer in mind. He's young or fashionably mature, but he's very aware of his appearance, and is a guy more about state of style than state of mind. What's new and fresh in the Dom Baignado collection this season is a young, modern, contemporary approach to dressing. It's taking, say, new darks, putting back strong shirts, checks, strong plains, motif ties, stripe. It's mixing. I call it youthful contradiction. What I think will be hot for this spring carnival will be the suit. It'll be from classic to creative. It'll be about creative mixes. It'll be about new shapes, new styles. It'll be about colour, texture, fun. After all, it is carnival time.
The 2003 AAMI Victoria Derby, made possible by our telecast partners, AAMI. Lucky you're with AAMI. 2 is new, what mates do. New L'Oreal Paris Glam Shine. Telstra. And our telecast sponsors, Lexus, the relentless pursuit of perfection. Harvey Norman, your digital camera specialist. And Lavazza Coffee.
This race doesn't just stop the nation, it consumes our hearts and minds. For horses and jockeys, fame beckons.
Puzzle goes to the line to win the Melbourne Cup. Damien stands high in the irons, salutes the heavens. That's for Jason Wilson.
Since 1861, this race has been run every year through wars and depression. It's one of the stayers of Australian sport. And on Tuesday, another chapter in its colourful history will be written and ridden. Will an overseas invader leave with the cup again? Will master trainer Bart Cummings be crowned for a frightening 12th time? Or can Numberphile wrap up a rare cup stubble? All those questions and more will be answered on that demanding 3,200 metre journey around Flemington. So on Tuesday, grab a seat for Seven's live and exclusive coverage of the $4.6 million Tooheys New Melbourne Cup.
Yes, the race that does stop this nation, live and exclusive here on 10 o'clock the starting time, take note. That's Eastern Daylight Saving Time on the first Tuesday in November. Des Gleeson, the Chief Steward, joins us as he has throughout the Spring Carnival. Des, thanks for coming in. I read the paper this morning and you've really let the jockeys know that if they foul up over the next 4 days, they'll be suspended and it could cost them a record $75,000 fine.
Well, that's right, Bruce. It's important from our point of view and from the point of view of the connections of all horses that they get a clean run in the races, so they're given every opportunity to win. Early in the carnival at Caulfield, it was fairly disappointing really, we did have a number of riders that were suspended for causing interference, and we'll continue the tough line on riders that step over the line and cause interference in races, and we won't hesitate to impose fines in addition to suspensions if they cause interference through reckless riding.
Is this the first time you've preempted it, though, by coming out in advance and saying something like this?
No, a few years ago we were a bit concerned also, and we notified the riders that not to expect any leniency if they stepped over the line.
It's protocol though, isn't it, Des? They do a pretty good job now, when they get that dressing down.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I want to ask you from the Amy Vars, Elvestrom and Kopensky, when they battled from the top of the straight at Moonee Valley there last week on Cox Plate Day. I want to talk to you about Paddy Payne's ride, where he was wanting to just to get off the fence. He had his head turned out a little bit, and he rode very strong hands and heels. What were your thoughts there? Kerrin didn't give him much room.
No, he didn't. Patrick, as you can notice on the TV, he didn't really want to race hard against the inside rail and was endeavouring to race a horse off the fence.
He's with the red cap and the yellow.
He's in the red cap, yes. And Kerrin McAvoy, really good riding. He raced up close on Patrick Payne's outside and really didn't give Patrick any room to use his whip. He did use the whip for a couple of strides in the early part of the straight, but then he rode strongly hands and heels to the post. And we couldn't be critical of Patrick Payne's hands and heels riding. He was a master at the hands and heels riding.
Has Patrick ever been a strong rider with the whip?
No, Patrick has shown that he gets the best out of his horse's hands and heels, and he uses the whip basically as a last resort. 2
hands on the reins are better than one?
Exactly, Simon, yes, yes.
Holly Orders has been the talk of the town. This Irish horse has been a bit grumpy. Now, this was absolutely amazing scenes out at Sandown. They've been trying to get this horse to gallop and he won't go anywhere at the moment. Willie Mullins has arrived. Ross McDonald helped him out by a most unusual method of cracking a whip behind him in a moment. I mean, Des, we had Pravda a few years ago who just got onto the track in the Melbourne Cup and wouldn't move. Are you a bit concerned about this horse?
Well, we were when we first heard of the antics of Holy Orders at Sandown. I did contact the authorities in England and they assured me that whilst he might have a few problems in training, on race day he hasn't caused any problems at all. John Boyd, one of my stewards, went out there yesterday morning and the horse did improve markedly yesterday, and the trainer basically has said that he doesn't think that he'll have any problems. It was also a concern that the horse hadn't been able to work. It's a big ask flying all that way to Australia and going into a 2-mile Melbourne Cup without having done the necessary work, but the trainer also assured us that he's done miles and miles before he came here and he can't really see a problem with that.
It's a mental thing though, with our experience with horses, Des, you'd like them to do everything 100%, wouldn't you?
Yes, going into a big race like the Melbourne Cup, you need to have everything right to be a chance in a race like the Melbourne Cup.
Bart Cummings has won 11 Melbourne Cups. Only on one occasion has a winner not run on this day. That was Saintly. Every other time they've had a run. Now today, Frightening is not running, but he's actually brought the horse to the track to soak up the atmosphere. I mean, this is a bit unusual, Des. You've given him permission to bring Frightening here today.
Yeah, we have no problems with that, Bruce. Frightening earlier in this year was a horse that did race a bit erratically and a bit ungenerously, and Bart's really settled the horse down. He'll never experience a crowd like he'll experience on Tuesday. And I think it's a good move by Bart Cummings today, and who's to question Bart's record to bring the horse and get a bit of a feel of the atmosphere on a big day such as today.
His points have just come in a couple of notches too from all punters there, Bruce, after that. Bart switched on.
He's always been that. There's no doubt about that. I think he's had a lot of good quotes. His son during the week said, "Bart's taught me everything I know, Anthony, but he hasn't taught me everything he knows."
That's right.
It's Bart to a T, isn't it? Des, thank you. Simon, thank you too. You're out to interview some of the jockeys throughout the day. Terrific.
Pleasure, Bruce.
Des Gleeson and Simon Marshall. Well, so many heroes are made over these 4 days of the Melbourne Cup Carnival. One of them goes right back to 1890, Carbine, who carried the biggest weight ever in a Melbourne Cup to success. Old Jack, he was called. Here's Neil Kearney.
Now, this old brolly might look like a bit of trash that I picked up outside of the betting ring, but it's actually one of the treasures of the Australian turf. It was the secret weapon behind one of the greatest horses that Australia ever saw. This old fella, he might look like a bag of bones now, but he was actually built like a horse. Well, in 1890, he carried 10 stone 5 pounds, the most ever to win the Melbourne Cup.
A length he's leading. What riding and breeding. 2 lengths and a half clear, he flies past the post. Half deafened in thunder, great Carbine, great wonder, the horse of the world, and not a word of a boast.
The poets went mad over Carbine, and so did the punters. Reckon this bloke won a buggy load. And they say John Wren started the Collingwood tote with the winnings he scun off the bookies. Carbine's prize was the richest in the world, 10,000 sovereigns, plus this trophy, which fetched $290,000 a few years ago and is on loan to the Australian Racing Museum.
Even with museum gloves, we can't touch these. They're the silks worn by Carbine's jockey Bob Ramage in the 1890 Melbourne Cup, and they're all still in one piece, which is more than we can say for the horse.
Today, the New Zealand-bred champ's skeleton is in the Australian Racing Museum. 3 hooves are at the VRC, and his stuffed head is at the Ellerslie Racing Club in New Zealand. Ellerslie had enough left of his hide to cover a seat for the club's chairman. But Carbine's original stall, in which old Jack stood on Cup Day 1890, is on display at Flemington. And the Carbine Club has become one of Melbourne's most famous sporting institutions. There are Carbine clubs in England and Hong Kong, immortalising the stud who created one of the world's most powerful bloodlines. Over 60 of his descendants have won the Melbourne Cup. And appropriately for one of the great characters of Australia's biggest carnival, old Jack even got his photo on beer bottles.
And what is so special about this brolly? Well, Carbine was a stubborn old blighter. He loved the crowd, but he liked them to come to him. So sometimes he would stand in his stall and point blank refuse to go to the track. And the only way that Hickenbotham, his trainer, could get him to go to the track was to pull out the umbrella and then shine it at him and say, "Come on, old fella, let's go to work." And then old Jack knew it was time to run his race.
Today's Great Cup Carnival moment is made possible by Telstra, maximising your coverage.
Dr. Turf Johnson, he carried 10 kilos more than Marmul, the top weight, has got on Tuesday.
I know. I was disturbed to hear where he's ended up, though, Bruce. I don't think he's worth a bit too keen.
Dr. Turf, great to have you. You were just questioning the Chief Steward, Des Gleeson, about the McKinnon Stakes, the fact that the stewards asked to have the stake money raised for the McKinnon.
Well, the McKinnon always had that reputation, didn't it, Bruce, of being a little bit of a practice race for some of the Cup horses. But, yeah, I thought it was interesting saying that to boost the prize money made them a little bit keener to get the money.
And quite a few
legitimately
won the double in recent years, including Rogan Josh, so that's worth $500,000. We're up to the Saab quality.
Yep.
Horses here are trying to qualify or go up the order for the Tooheys New Melbourne Cup on Tuesday. And we've had some success here with Brew in recent years, and Kingston Rule, and also one other. It was, I'm just trying to think.
I can't remember myself. Black Knight.
We're actually placed in this race and went on to win the Cup.
Black Knight had come through the Benalla Cup, I think, Bruce, which I don't think is a traditional lead-up for the Melbourne Cup these days.
Well, speaking of cups, Henderson Bay won the Sydney Cup in 2002, and he won the Tats Cup last up, but he's an 8-year-old, and gee, I don't know.
No, I don't know either. He actually beat Mr. Pruden when he won the Sydney Cup as well, Bruce. I think Mr. Henderson Bay is a dead-set dry tracker. I think this ground, combined with the 57.5 kilos, is going to bring him undone.
Oarsman is 24th on the order for the Cup at the moment, which would just get him in, but he first and second will improve him. There's a tip for him today. His runs in Australia have been awful, but he is an Auckland Cup second place getter and a Wellington Cup winner.
Yeah, awful is the correct description of his last performance, Bruce. The run before that at Caulfield was okay. He handles dead ground. I'm not too sure about him on slow ground, but he's got to find something here. And these Gary Grills, he's going to find this tough, I reckon.
Piaget, number 3, is 22nd in the order of merit. He won the Brisbane Cup this year. He was 3rd in this race last year and 2nd in the Metrop last year.
Yeah, that's right. 3rd in the Brisbane Cup as well. Look, he was out to last in the Moonee Valley Cup and really just didn't make enough ground for mine, Piaget. He's a pretty handy stayer when right. I think he's also a dry tracker as well. That's another dry tracker, Bruce. And you've got to really sort of give credit to this, the sort of ground they've got to go through today. A lot of these horses don't like this sort of ground, and there's no point in guessing. I say he doesn't really handle the wet, and I think that's going to fix him up.
Farway's number 4 is the fresh blood, really, in a way. He's 4th in the Metropolitan, only beaten a length and a half. Good run in the Colin Stephen and won at Rosehill over 2,000 before that.
Yeah, fair to say he also had a little kid on him in the Metropolitan. I think Ronnie Stewart, who's a promising Sydney apprentice, but I'm sure Jimmy Cassidy will be a big plus for Farway's today. He won't get too far back. I think he also handles the wet not too badly, and I think he's got a pretty good each-way chance, Farway's.
And Big Pat might be a query in the ground. Good run in the winning edge. Now, this horse 2 years ago was 12-1 in the Melbourne Cup. He was one of the hot horses, wasn't he?
He was, formerly trained by, I think, Peter Tulloch, and now Robbie Griffiths has got him and got him going well as well. He hasn't won, it's a little bit of a bobby, he hasn't won since the St Ledger of 2001, which I think was actually run at Moonee Valley that day. I think Flemington was underwater. So he actually gets through the ground pretty well, Big Pat, and he's improving this preparation. I think he's got a rough hope.
Devon, number 7. This horse is assured of a start in the Cup, 20th. She's a mare from Adelaide, won the South Australian St Ledger. Now, her run in the Moe Cup was, forget all about it, had no luck. Did pretty well, I thought, in the Turnbull before that.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, it was a very, very good run, Devon. Races right up on the pace, and as you say, had no luck at all at Moe. He got shuffled back through the field, and you really had to be up there at Moe, as you always do. Got a good hope. I reckon this has got a good hope.
Does handle the slow too. Has won 2 races on slow tracks. Bulkhead's a winner on slow. 7-year-old, but going okay. Was 10-1 at Geelong in the Cup and beaten 2.5 lengths.
Yeah, only 32 starts for a 7-year-old. But you know, this horse was off the scene for well over a year. Resumed racing in April of this year and hasn't missed racing in a month since then. So he's been up for, well, he's into his 7th month this campaign. I just don't think he's got the class. He gets through the slow ground okay, could run a place.
Serpentai ran in the Derby on this day last year. He was unplaced behind Hellenist. Look, he's a Flemington horse. He won a St Ledger here. Didn't fire up in the Moonee Valley Cup. His best run this time in, probably 3rd behind Vicksburg and the Banjo.
At Caulfield, yeah. Not going well enough, really. You'd just be guessing to say it's got a hope.
Now, Dance on Wood's a Woodman 4-year-old mare, and Woodman is a sire who can get stayers. Got treble, got Freedman, 2nd at Caulfield, bolted in at Flemington in the start before that, has been placed in the St Ledger.
Yeah, look, actually having her best preparation for sure, Dance on Wood. Been disappointing at times, particularly early in its career, but actually just going very, very well now, Dance on Wood. Going to get a good run from Barrier 1. Deserves to be favourite, actually, with Legible coming out. She's going to be hard to beat.
Now, Michael Moroney used this race with Brew to get into the Cup, and he won this race and won the Cup a couple of years ago. Now, tomorrow's party's one of 2 runners. He's trying to get into the Cup. 12th at Geelong. The only good thing I could say about it in terms of its form, it won at Flemington in July on a slow.
Yeah, that is about the only promising or positive thing you can make from tomorrow's party's form, Bruce. Just not racing well. Had a terrific winter, won a couple in town in winter, particularly on the slow track, and will appreciate the low weight, but that might get him into place at best for mine.
And Special Scene will be a big odds 12. Number 12.
Yeah.
All its wins have been on dead or slow. Out of town wins.
I reckon this bloke's last 2 runs have been a lot better than they seem on paper. Had absolutely no luck in the Cranbourne Cup and then had no luck at all in the Geelong Cup either. Going to appreciate only having 53 kilos. Got shuffled back out of the race at Geelong, really, when Zasman led all the way. I reckon the best roughie in the race, number 12, Special Scene.
Speaking of roughies, Milzil's a roughie. A Zabil 4-year-old mare, though, and there's a ring when you say 4-year-old mare by Zabil. She was 50-1 in the winning edge, beaten less than 3 lengths. Her only wins have been in a Class 4 at Seymour and a maiden in New Zealand.
I backed her at Seymour, Bruce. I'm a big fan of Milzil's, but I don't think she's got any possible hope whatsoever. However, having said that, at about the 300-metre mark at Caulfield behind Vicksburg, she was actually vying for the lead and just wilted the last little bit. She could fluke a place.
Well, 6 of the 12 have got a nomination for the Melbourne Cup, and they'll be hoping to be running on Tuesday as they're about to leave the mounting yard. This race worth $250,000 at Group 2. the Saab Quality. Last night it was the Amy Young Members Ball, and Doc, believe it or not, a few people are still trying to find their way home.
So do you think this is a good way to break yourself into the week of racing? You get to let it loose a little bit?
It's definitely, I wouldn't usually be seen on the dance floor, but I'm having such a good time.
Proving you're never too young to start in the fashion stakes. You look absolutely gorgeous, sweetheart. What's your name?
Emily.
And how old are you?
I'm 9.
And who put your outfit together today, Emily?
Well, my mum's friend gave me this hat to wear today.
Terrific. And is this the first time you've been out to the races?
Yes, it is.
Are you having a bet on the horses as well?
Yeah, I had one bet.
Excellent. Well, best of luck. You look gorgeous. And thanks, Mum, for helping her out.
Well, despite the weather, Doc, the crowd continues to build. And
I think kids should be able to bet at that age. Just Cup Week, not the rest of the year, Bruce, but from Cup Week onwards, if you're over 6, get on.
But tell me a kid that likes racing that didn't bet when they were 6.
Well, I certainly did.
I'll join the club. I hope we can't get into trouble retrospectively. But anyway, they're out here in force today. And the final day's a real family day, isn't it?
Sure.
Lots of kids here on next Saturday. Well, 78 runnings. This 1925 was the first time we had the Hotham handicap. On 7 occasions out of 78, the winner of this race has gone on to win the Cup. So it's about a 10% record.
Yes, not so much recently, I suppose, though, Bruce. It's not really the traditional lead-up anymore. Like, in fact, I suppose Derby Day is not the traditional lead-up day like it used to. When we grew up, Bruce, every Cup runner ran on Derby Day.
There's no doubt about it. We talked earlier that Bart Cummings has trained 11 Cup winners. The only time one of his Cup winners didn't run on this day was Saintly. So 10 out of the 11 have run.
And if you remember with Saintly, he'd had a gruelling... He actually came through the Metropolitan Saintly, then was freshened up for the Cox Plate. So Saintly had plenty of kilometres in his legs before he reached the Cup.
Dance on Wood was the favourite earlier. Pat, is the Lee Friedman trained mare still on top of the boards?
Money's been very solid for Dance on Wood. The rest have really blown. Farwell's out a couple of points. Big Pat, my namesake, absolutely friendless, out about 6 points in the betting. Dance on Wood, what you see on the tote at the $3.20 is about equivalent as what is happening in the ring. And Bruce, I can tell you that the crowd has really built up in the last half an hour. There's a massive crowd here in the betting ring. Dance on Wood, the fave.
It's the sort of day it takes on about 3 levels, doesn't it? We're about to go into the Melbourne Cup thinking level. We've had 2 terrific races. We build through the mares and fillies, and then we go to the next level again with the 3 Group 1s all in a row. We're getting into the second stage right now.
Magnificent. We just can't wait for these races. The McKinnon in particular, what a terrific race it is. It's suffered a little bit the last couple of years, McKinnon, but we've got a strong field again this year, the McKinnon.
Just a bit of light rain at the moment. And this was the race, when it was called the Hotham Handicap, the triple dead heat of 1956, which was a real part of Australian racing history.
Yeah, who were the 3, Bruce?
Ark Royal,
Fighting Force,
and Pandy Sun.
Yeah. But big trivia question. I actually don't know the answer to this. Who ran 4th?
Give up completely.
Yes. Yeah,
well, there you have those 3 famous names, Ark Royal, Fighting Force and Pandy Sun, forever linked because they hit the line locked together in this race in 1956.
And a great photo too, fantastic, one of the great sporting photos.
So is the Melbourne Cup market going to change after this? We're about to go in the Saab Quality as we join Sky Channel's Greg Miles.
Brew won here before going on and winning the Melbourne Cup. Before him it was Think Big in 74. Kingston Rural ran a place in this race before winning the Melbourne Cup in 1990. Far was on the move. There's Big Pat for Peter Mertens, the grey, on the move behind the line. Bulkhead about to come along into the gates. Now Millseel goes up into her place. Black cap for Reece McLeod. Bulkhead is set. They're just about ready. The Saab Quality field, just the last couple to line in then. Dance on Wood on the inside, the favourite, Brett Preble. He won here on Starbinder in 1998. Lee Friedman, a previous winner with Coachwood in the mid-90s. Now Big Pat comes up into the stall, so the field is just about ready to go. Farwas, who was luckless in the Metropolitan run on a slow track, was caught wide all the way. In he comes for Graham Rogerson, Jim Cassidy on board, and the start quality field is underway with Dance on Wood, the favourite, winning the jump clearly on the inside. Serpentine was away well, and so is Millzeal, and Devon and Bulkhead come across from wide barriers, so it's going to be a good genuine pace in the early stages. Fawaz is wide as they leave the straight. Oarsman went back to last. Out to the 2200 now, and it's Millzeal headed off by Bulkhead on the outside, who runs to the lead today. Third is Devon, 2.5 lengths away, and Dance on Wood with a good trail. She's fourth the inside of Serpentire, and 2 lengths to Fawaz over on the outside of Tomorrow's Party. About 2 lengths further back is Big Pat, and another 2 lengths then to Special Scene. Henderson Bay well back third last on the inside, followed by Piace and Oarsman last. The Saab field by the 1800 is led by Bulkhead by 2 lengths. Millzeal second. 2 lengths away is Devon, and then Dance on Wood fourth the inside. Serpentine just wanting to get his head up in 5th place the outside. Next in the field, Tomorrow's Party, followed by Fawaz, who lobbed along beautifully about midfield. Then Big Pat on the inside, followed by Special Scene. Henderson Bay 3 from last. Behind him is Piace and Oarsman about 12 from the leader. At the 1400, and it's Bulkhead by 2 lengths. Millzeal is second, a similar margin to Devon in 3rd place. Dance on Wood fourth the inside. 2 lengths Serpentine, there's been no change. A length and a quarter further back in the field, then came Tomorrow's Party on the inside of Fawaz, and 2 behind these horses, Big Pat, Special Scene. Then Henderson Bay, Piace and Oarsman back last. As they come along to the 1,000-metre mark now, and out in front is Bulkhead. He's about a length in front. Bulkhead over in second placing Millzeal. 2.5 lengths away then Devon, Dance on Wood. Back behind those horses, Serpentine 5th, and then Tomorrow's Party, Fawaz, and they were trailed 2 lengths away at the 800-metre mark then to Big Pat, Special Scene. Henderson Bay still a long way back, and with him is Piace, and Oarsman is last of all. Bulkhead came to the corner at the 600 metres. He's going to straighten up almost a length to Millzeal, and Devon third. Then Serpentire hard ridden on the outside as they cornered. Dance on Wood got right up behind the leader, and she's got plenty to offer. She needs a run though in the straight at the 400 metres. She's going to have to check over the leader's heels. Millzeal took over from Bulkhead. Now she's in the clear, the favourite Dance on Wood. Big Pat's run up behind them on the inside, and then Fawaz letting down with a run, followed by Devon, but Dance on Wood takes the lead down towards 150. She's out by a length and a half. Big Pat, Fawaz, but it's Dance on Wood in front. She wants to run out. Big Pat lunges hard, grabs the lead. Big Pat wins it a long head to Fawaz or Dance on Wood. Photo finish for the Miners. And then Tomorrow's Party, Special Scene, the weakening Bulkhead, Piace, Henderson Bay. Back behind these to finish is Millzeal, Oarsman, Devon, and back at the tail is Serpentire.
Peter Merton's absolutely wrapped there. Big Pat getting home to win after Dance on Wood looked home in the straight. She broke away, but Big Pat was angled out, and he's come with the run, and that puts him into the Melbourne Cup. He had to run in the first 2. Big Pat will run in the Melbourne Cup, as he did a couple of years ago.
That's right, and fantastic for Robbie Griffiths, the young Cranbourne trainer, Bruce. This horse showed a lot of ability, as you mentioned before the race, as a younger horse. He lost form for 18 months, Bruce, and he's back to his best. Robbie Griffiths, a terrific training performance.
Here's Big Pat. He's just there. I'll try and get the one on him. Fawaz just there, and Dance on Wood, who looked all over a winner, is there. So Dance on Wood's about to get rid of Devon here. Rolls off Devon, gets it clear. Big Pat the grey behind them. Fawaz out wide. Right here, Dance on Wood looks the winner.
No doubt. You can see her there just drifting out a little bit under pressure, Bruce, Dance on Wood. And Big Pat, he's just come strong. Peter Mertens with a whip there in the left hand.